So I'm sure you guys have seen my review on this. It's a cool blaster, I really like it, but I've had some ideas for this. Some other people have too, in the comments. And it's kind of just like, I kind of feel like screw it, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to turn this into a underbarrel, basically like a master key. But it's going to need some minimization work. But I also really want to see the internals of this too. Because the quality of this plastic is insane. It's like McDonald's toy plastic. So this is a good test bed to see if we can like up the spring power. Might not be able to, the plunger tube might be small, but there's quite a big area inside of here, so I'm expecting a micro shot level of plunger tube in this. You get about the same performance. The prime isn't bad already, it's quite tough already, even if you pump it. So that's kind of my idea for this. I'm going to try and upgrade the internals, but turn this area into a Picatinny attachment rail, kind of. Well, kind of just a adapter, not the actual rail itself, but the, you know, like the part that's on the light or whatever you use. So it's going to be, I'm going to try and attach it to this. I'm going to minimize the blaster itself, and then it's going to be more of a underbarrel master key type deal. Because the shell ejection is so strong, you only have to sort of reach in and hit it, and that shell will eject straight downwards. If you're on a soft carpet, it will hit the floor. Hard floor, it will bounce around a bit, but the main thing is that it has such a quick shell ejection. You can catch the shell as well, load it, and it's just fast. I know there's other blasters out there that already can do this, but I want to do it with this. And also, it has a rail on top of here. So when this is inverted, minimized, etc., you'll also be able to put a front grip on this too. You'll also be able to use, hopefully, the grip to pump it. So it makes this also pump action. It also makes it a good grip as a front grip as well. So this will double as a master key and front grip for whatever blaster you want to use. This cost me 79 pence, less than £1. Do the math on that. I can buy another one of these. If I want this as like a display piece or whatever like that, I can buy another one. I'm not too fussed about that. I just want to see what I can do with this, really. So let's run the film. So I've just started unbuttoning this, and all I've done so far is the top slide, or the dust cover on the rear AK. Straight away we can see the return spring, but also the spring and tube. I'm pretty sure I've got an upgrade spring that's like this, so we'll see what we can do. So here's the internals. I just took the butter shell, the shell off. You don't need to disassemble this. There is another spring with a catch inside of here for the shell. Leave all of this just intact, you don't need to unscrew this. And then we've got the plunger tube. It's fairly small, but it's got a really good seal on it. And the spring, so from that spring that I looked at, it looks to be the same almost, but it looks like we can add some pre-compression. So we'll see if we can do that. And here's the rest of the mechanism to obviously pop it and for it to spring open. So that's pretty much it. I'm just going to try and minimise some of the shell a little bit, and yeah, and also we need to do this next too. Okay, so I have the disassembled Chinese light just for the Picatinny mount. Gluing a cardboard, very high quality cardboard bed onto it. This is just so I've got a flat surface to bed this onto the blaster. So might have to, you know, finagle this and re-glue this several times, but once this is set it'll be good, because I've actually used cardboard before with plastic, and if you use layers of glue through the cardboard, you can get cardboard really solid, and you can kind of use it in a quick fix effort for building blasters and stuff. Like for making a bed for certain things to attach, it does work quite well as like that middle ground, because if you glue this correctly, you can make this into a solid piece. So it is complete. You probably remember it back in this form when I had it this way around, and I've slowly, you know, got it to where I wanted it. You'll notice the rail is different from the original one. It's not because it was brittle or it broke off or anything. I actually replaced it. It took a lot of effort to get it off. So I know that the glue that I'm using is really good. I'm not using epoxy. I'm using Gorilla Glue because it's one of the glues that I really trust. And if you do it a certain way, you can get it really nice. But the reason I removed this and replaced this with a different one, being one of these ones, is because the rail fitment just wasn't tight enough. It's tight enough to be on like a rail on top for an optic, but for how I want this, it just wasn't cutting it. So I literally took a lot of force, break it off, cleaned up all the blaster underneath so there wasn't any residue of glue. I redid the build plate, trimmed the build plate down. The build plate just makes sure that this sits on here because this is rounded. I sanded it down pretty flat, but not flat enough to where I wanted it. So I've put a plate on top that makes it even like flatter and bonded those pieces together with the glue. And you have to do all this in parts. You can't just glue all this unit together all at once. You have to build the plate and build it all up slowly. That's how you get this strong. If you were to just throw it all on there and glue it all as one piece, that's why it probably would break off. I also painted it. I haven't cleaned this up that much. There is some glue residue, but this is all painted black. You know, it's just, I would have to get little bits of sandpaper and get in between here. And I don't want to risk removing too much and have it, you know, ruin the bond of the plate. So I've kind of left that. But I also added an extra thing. I added a notch in between here to fit in between the Picatinny rail, like you would get on much higher end attachments, like the Olight that I've got. This is actually built from the optical ring from this, because obviously this is just this flipped. You can see what's been removed. So I used this ring and built and sanded, and it took a while. I built up the plate and glued it and bonded it together, and I've created a wedge, and so now you can loosen this all the way, fit it onto your rail, tighten it up, and there is no movement whatsoever. I've also found that this takes a lot of the pressure off of the build plate. More pressure is on this nub, so if this nub breaks, I can replace that. This is a quick build anyway, so if this does eventually wear out, you know, the glue gets old, brittle, whatever, and it breaks off, I will probably use steel stick, just because I've been looking into that, and it kind of is already brown, like not brown but grey, so I think it would just fit better as something like this in future. But this is just my test with Gorilla Glue and seeing how well that holds up. I also cut out and removed a portion of the rail, just so this fits flush, because otherwise it would be canted at an angle. Now this fits level with the blaster, and actually makes it more level when it's on the rail. With this, how this is set up, I'm actually quite impressed, because if you guys watch the original review on this blaster, you'll notice there is a rail on top of here, because I laughed about how funny the optic looked, because it's a full scale rail, and the optic is like almost as big as the blaster. So I actually am able to put a pump grip on here, because this is how you prime it. You can use these T-bars on the back, but if you find that you can't get a good grasp on it, you can just physically pump it back, and that honestly that feels so much nicer to use, because this grip's nice anyway. It takes all the force off it doesn't feel that bad. Also, I added a plate on the back of here just to block the view. It's not very strong. It was already cracked before I put it on, so there is some flex to it. In future, I would probably use a non-damaged piece, because it actually is bonded very nice and looks nice. It's just it's not strong enough. If I put any force on that, I could probably crack it all the way through. So I don't. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to use the pump grip, because I found myself putting my thumb here. You can do it, just put it on the edge. Just don't put it in the middle. But this pump grip allows me to just put my thumb up here and pump it back, or physically just hold it and pump it back. This is strong enough to where I can physically, and I've also upgraded the spring, as you guys know in your first part of the video. So this is tougher. But what I found is there is plus and minuses to upgrading stuff. So yes, this is not hitting pro performance. It's hitting like 80 feet per second at max. If I use like the bambooed dragon darts, or do something crazy with the ammo like that, it's getting like 40 feet per second with usual darts. It's not like super impressive or anything like that. But if I were to put a spring that's as strong as like the Dart Zone Solo, this would not be primable. I set up the Dart Zone Solo because it's got a rail on top. All you have to do is use a rail-to-rail mount. I found I can't physically prime the blaster down. It warps the plastic because the spring is just too strong. With this spring, it's just strong enough, just weak enough. It's in that middle ground where I can prime it still without damaging anything. The ejection is nice as well. You only have to reach up and hit it with your thumb. The action opens, and you can either let it eject onto the ground. If you're playing on like grass, that will hit nicely on the ground and stay where it's at, and you can just pick them up later. Or you could just, as you're opening it, just keep your fingers underneath it and let it open into your hand. And because it ejects, it kind of like falls into your hand. So the operation of this is very smooth, and I really like the aesthetics of this when it's on the blaster. It kind of reminds me of like a Master Key flamethrower from Call of Duty World at War. Very old game, but yeah. I really like the aesthetics of it anyway. And I know this is not on a blaster yet. There's a blaster I'm going to be showing next that I'm really excited to show you guys, and this fits perfectly on there. You do have to be picky with what you put this on, because the rail is so far forward to the action. The action is literally behind the rail here. You've got, what, like 4 inches, 5 inches, so you can't put this on a pistol, because the pistol grip, you won't be able to physically hold the pistol grip. This is sort of exclusively for rifles that have Picatinny rails forward of the action, forward of the magazine. Underbarreled, you can hold the magazine and still shoot this, or you can, pump the handle underneath, and you can hold it by the grip as well. It's not too, even though it's lower down, it's not, I don't know what the word is for it, but not bad. It's not awkward to use. It's not like too far down. It's in line. So this grip is great for a forward grip as well as being a punt grip. So this actually, this unit serves 2 uses out of it, which is all you can really hope for in an underbarreled unit like this, being so compact and small and light. This isn't like putting a Magnus underneath your gun. It's not as heavy and big as that. Even though you get more shots with a Magnus, or converting some sort of Nerf pistol to be underbarreled. It's the compact lightness of it which is a benefit. This doesn't hang too far off the end of your blaster, because the rail is so far up front. When it's in line where you want it to be, it sits below the barrel line. You still have, and it still doesn't actually go over the handguard either. Most handguards actually sit kind of like this with it, so it doesn't go over. It's really good, honestly. I'm quite impressed with what I've done with it. I was debating on cutting this front sight off, but I don't know. I think it just adds to the aesthetics anyway. It doesn't really need to be done, and I could trim parts of this shell off and try and minimize it a little bit. The spring rest sits here anyway, so I can't remove much of this. But what I think is it's quite cool, because I could turn this back into a pistol, remove this grip off of it, and have, you could do you could leave that on here and add something to it, because you can use a rail-to-rail adapter. So if this did, if this did be removed off the blaster and you put the grip back on it, you actually get more uses out of this with this setup as well. And honestly, I think it looks quite good aesthetically. If I were to put a grip back on this, it looks pretty cool in my opinion, without this obviously. Yeah, so I think it serves all its original uses. It doesn't have that stupid stock anymore, but it still has its original grip panel point, so it can be converted back into a pistol again. That's the beauty of this. This is what I wanted. I wanted something that yes, it's been converted, but also if I change my mind, I can just replace it back into its original form. So this isn't a permanent thing, which is what I really like about it. This can stay on here and it won't be obtrusive. So yeah, that's been the video really, guys. The performance is a little bit better than what it is stock, and also I was really impressed with the air seal. So if I hold, this is the plunger tube right there, so you can see it's got a permanent air seal, nothing leaks out of it. I also lubed up all the O-rings and the internals, and I think I've made the seal even better than what it was originally, even though it was almost 100% seal before. It's just smoother now. It's definitely a bit harder to prime. Like if I'm holding here and just pull the T-bar handle, I can feel the pressure on my fingertips from that, and I couldn't really feel that before. So there is like a 10 to 20% increase in the prime. So I know that the improvements in performance have been added to it as well, just from that. So yeah, all I can say is it's better than stock in this form now. It's getting a little bit better performance, and it's got a quality of life improvement to it. Maybe if this Bison was full size, I wouldn't have done it. If it was to scale, but obviously this is not to scale. So I think when it's been flipped upside down, it kind of looks cool. It doesn't look as much like an AK. It kind of does if you look at this for too long. Yeah, it kind of looks, it's just a cool little nod to the AK at that point if you notice it. So yeah, stay tuned for this, because this will be in videos. You just have to have a keen eye and notice it. But yeah, so I'm really happy with this so far, guys, and yeah, build yourselves one, I think, if you guys can find this. But yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. Comment, rate and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.